Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about a creature that feels like it's straight out of a nightmare, a real-life monster that completely changes what we thought was possible for life on our planet. So let's get right into it. Our story starts in a pretty unexpected place, deep inside a Colombian coal mine. Now, for 60 million years, this place held a massive secret. For decades, miners were digging through what used to be the world's very first rainforest, and they had no idea they were walking right over the grave of an absolute giant. You'd think a discovery this huge would start with, a giant skull or a full skeleton, right? Nope. This whole incredible story began with just one single, really weird-looking bone that had every expert who saw it just scratching their heads. And this was a real slow burn. The very first piece of the puzzle, found way back in 1994, was just brushed off as a piece of old wood and literally thrown in a box. It wasn't until 2007, when all these separate little finds finally ended up together at the Florida Museum of Natural History, that someone put two and two together and the real story exploded into life. And when the team finally got a good look at this fossil, they were just stumped, completely baffled. They were holding this bone, and it just didn't match anything they knew. It was way too big to be a crocodile. It didn't look like any turtle they'd ever seen. They were holding a piece of an animal that, according to everything they knew, just shouldn't have existed. So this is where it all comes together, the big aha moment, when a really simple comparison finally revealed the fossil's true and honestly terrifying identity. And here's that breakthrough. Someone had the brilliant idea to compare the mystery bone to a vertebra from a green anaconda, the biggest snake on the planet today. And whoa, the fossil wasn't just a little bigger, it was 3 times larger and way thicker. That was it. In that moment, they knew. They had found a snake. So, of course, they immediately started running the numbers to figure out just how big this thing was. And the answer they got back was just staggering. We're talking up to 50 feet long. To give you some perspective, that's longer than a city bus. And if the length didn't blow your mind, the weight will. The models estimated it weighed about 1.2 tons. That is the same weight as a car. A snake that heavy would literally be crushed under its own weight on land today. It's just impossible. Let me put it another way. This ancient serpent was a true monster, weighing 10 times more than the biggest snake alive today. It didn't just break the record for the world's biggest snake, it completely obliterated it. And a creature like this, well, it deserves a truly epic name. So they called it Titanoboa, which literally means the Titanic boa. It wasn't just some new species. It was, without a doubt, the undisputed all-time king of snakes. Okay, so this raises a huge question, right? Finding the bones is one thing, but explaining how any snake could get that enormous, that's a whole other problem. And the whole answer, believe it or not, comes down to one simple biological fact. Snakes are ectothermic, what we usually call cold-blooded. See, unlike you and me, they can't make their own body heat. Their entire system, their whole engine, runs on the heat from the world around them. So, in a way, Titanoboa itself was like a living thermometer for its time. For a cold-blooded animal to get that big and just survive, the average temperature of its world had to be consistently over 32 degrees Celsius. That's way hotter than the Amazon is today. This thing lived on a hothouse planet. Think of that constant, intense heat as rocket fuel for its body. It supercharged its metabolism, which meant it could digest food faster, grow bigger, and generate enough energy to power a body of absolutely unbelievable size. The heat wasn't just about being comfortable, it was the essential ingredient that let it become a titan. So, we've got the giant. We know how it got so big. Now, let's talk about how this monster dominated its world and became the ultimate predator of its time. First things first, get rid of that image of a giant snake slithering through the jungle. On land, Titanoboa's 1.2-ton body would have made it slow and clumsy. It was an aquatic hunter. It used the water to support its incredible bulk, moving through the swamps with a deadly grace, a lot like a crocodile does today. And it was an absolute master of the ambush. So picture this. It would just lie there, completely submerged, in the murky water, perfectly still, for hours, maybe even for days, just waiting. And when some unsuspecting animal came to the water's edge for a drink, bam! it would erupt from the water, a true monster from the deep. And the power, oh man, the power of its constriction was just on another level. Scientists estimate it could generate over 400 pounds per square inch of pressure. That is like having two full-grown African elephants standing on your chest. Absolutely nothing could survive that. An animal this big needs a big menu, right? Well, Titanoboa was eating giant turtles that were over 8 feet long. We're talking the size of a pool table. And it was taking down massive prehistoric crocodiles, animals that were apex predators in their own right. This thing was truly the predator of predators. So if it was the perfect predator in a perfect environment, top of the food chain with no known enemies, where did it go? Why don't we have 50-foot snakes swimming around the Amazon today? Well, the answer is actually both simple and, in a way, kind of profound. The very thing that allowed it to become a giant, that super hot climate, was also what sealed its doom. The world changed, and Titanoboa was just too specialized to change with it. After its era, the Earth's thermostat basically just started to dial down. Global temperatures dropped, the hot, swampy wetlands it called home began to shrink, and new mammals started showing up, creating competition for food. Its entire world was literally falling apart around it. And in the end, its greatest strength became its absolute fatal weakness. For a cold-blooded giant of this scale, a drop of just a few degrees in the planet's temperature was a death sentence. Its metabolism slowed to a crawl, and eventually it just didn't have the energy to hunt, to move, or even to live. You know, the story of Titanoboa is more than just a cool tale about a giant snake. It's a powerful lesson from our planet's past about how deeply climate shapes life on Earth. And it leaves us with one heck of a question to think about. If a few degrees of global cooling could erase a monster, what might a few degrees of warming bring back?